Ladies and gentlemen, the proposition stands before you today in favor of justice, and that is why terrorist suspects should be tried in civil court in the country of the offense. The opposition side has come up with three main arguments to defend their case. Terrorists are the same as the military. Terrorists should be tried by international law, and what is the fairest way to try a terrorist? In order to rebut these, I'll talk about two main points that have arisen during this debate. The first one being whether terrorists are the same as the military, and the second one, what is the fairest way to try a terrorist? Moving on to the first one. The opposition side has mentioned that they are exactly the same. That because they act on impulses to fulfill their goals. Because they are both organized and have a hierarchy, and they both have objectives, that they are equal, and that is why they should be tried in military courts. We on the proposition side disagree, because we do not believe that they are the same. They have very different objectives. These terrorists act on their own behalf. These terrorists act on their own behalf. No, thank you. They do not follow orders by a member of the state. No, thank you. They do not follow orders by a member of the state, and that is why the best way to try these people is in a civil court in the country of their offense. Also, they talked about how they said, I'll give you in a second. Also, they said that because they are equal, yes, Jesus?
Al-Qaeda recognizes itself as a Taliban state. Why is that not equal to an army?
Thank you. Well, if Al-Qaeda recognizes itself as a Taliban state, it is still not equal to the army because they do not go and say that and blow up the Twin Towers just because the state says so. Also, that they talked about, they said that also they talked about how terrorists were not, the French army was not the same as the Al-Qaeda. Well, we completely agree, and they said that is why they should be judged differently. We do not believe that terrorists are equal to terrorist armies. Moving on to the second point, what is the fairest way to try a terrorist? Marco mentioned that we need a more aggressive way to try terrorists. Well, we do not believe this is true, because we on the proposition side stand for justice. We need to evaluate evidence, and we need to give these people the rights that they deserve. To face their accusers. No, thank you. To face their accusers. To have legal counsel, because they are the same as any other criminal in that state. They also said that the civil courts would be biased if a terrorist came up, for example, taking the example of the Twin Towers, that if he was faced in a civil court, that the jury would be biased because it affected large amounts of people. Well, we on the proposition side believe that if a bomber comes in New York without any terrorist purposes, without any terrorist purpose, and blows up a school, the jury would have the same effect on that bomber that blew up a school with no political reasons and with no ties to a terrorist group than what they have to the people that blew up the Twin Towers. I'll take you a second. And because the jury would be the same effect, the jury would have the same effect, that is why it is more fair, yes?
Are you saying the jury does not acknowledge all the principles that are behind the terrorists, which you are trying to defend, to make a difference about?
Thank you. The jury would be aware that he is a suspect of terrorism, but that would not make a difference. A crime is a crime. And the jury would still be partial, would not be biased. They would still listen to the case of the terrorist, and they would defend it. Because it is exactly the same as if a serial killer, a mass serial killer, were let loose in New York and he was killing hundreds and thousands of people. It is exactly the same. They are still causing harm to the state, and that is why the terrorists should be tried in civil court in the place of their offense. Also, Jesus talked about how the military would evaluate evidence, and how that would lead to a more fair military trial. But we do not believe that the military will actually evaluate this evidence. We have already We have already mentioned on the proposition side that once a suspect is apprehended and is sent to a military court, he's already presumed guilty, and he cannot explain that he is innocent. In the face of the state, he's seen as guilty and will be charged as such. We also believe that and will be tried as such.
On that point,
yes.
In several civilian courts around the world, you start with the presumption that you're guilty, and still you're not always sent to jail. This means that you can actually evaluate and assess cases even in civilian courts. Why not in military?
Thank you. Well, in civil courts, you're innocent until proven guilty. Yes, we do not believe that this is true in the case of the military. You are guilty, and most of the time, you are not given the chance to prove that you are innocent. For example, you also mentioned that the example of Muhammad, that he came and confessed that he was guilty. Well, we on the proposition side are not changing the punishment for these people. We do not think that because he confessed, they would still be held to a trial. It is like any other criminal confessing to a crime and having a sworn statement, and having a sworn statement by that criminal that he committed the act, he would still be punished in the same way as terrorists are punished today. We think that they said that the terrorists should be tried by international law. Well, these groups of people have a rejection of jurisdiction. They do not think that they belong to any country. They do not follow the law, and that is why they should be tried in a country where they commit the act, where they commit the felony, not in an international law, which a military court does not follow. It follows the law of the country it is in. Because we have proven that military courts are outdated and unethical, that terrorists do not form part of the military, and that civil courts are the fairest way to try terrorists, that the proposition case stands.